biggest pieces of perspective that I got being a parent of a child with special needs was like, whatever we experience sensory wise, multiply that by like 100, and that's what Maddox feels.
What's going on, everybody? We are here with Ryan. I met Ryan, I would say about 7 years ago, right?
Yeah. My wife had gone to high school around where you did.
Yeah.
Had some mutual friends, and it really was like a true word of mouth kind of thing. Come highly recommended. So I came and sat in your chair, and we become close friends, but you also have impacted my family, not just me. I would say like Maddox was probably the one thing that pushed that even farther. Like once he started coming to you, I realized not only can he get a haircut from somebody in a traditional way. We always kind of felt like because of his autism, it would be, you know, probably somebody coming at home, or maybe we learned how to just cut his hair and give him a buzz. But, you know, that's something that furthered that to where I was like, hey, this guy is pushing my son in ways that I wouldn't even know. I think that's the coolest piece of all this. I always give that reference and joke about it when people I talk to is just us showing up that one day and you having the booster seat there, because I'd always sat with him with me, and you had it there, and we're like, we're not doing that today. And it was one of the first times as a parent, especially with a child of special needs, that you sit back and you're like, I need to do more of that, right? That's how he becomes more typical and more socialized. And now, you know, he just came in there, last week, didn't even make a peep. Right? He fought you getting in the chair, but once he's in the chair, he's just getting his hair cut like everybody else.
And see, my things with that is like, I try not to judge. And I try to treat everybody the same. My aunt, she's Down syndrome. So I already kind of knew how to deal with that throughout the years. So for me, it wasn't like something like, oh my God, it's different. I know some barbers sometimes panic or don't know what to do or get frustrated or like, man, I don't want to cut that person no more. And again, me being around it and seeing it with certain things, I'm like, I can't be that guy. I don't want to be that guy, you know? And I feel like everybody should get a haircut at a barbershop. It doesn't matter what the situation is, because it brings growth. It brings relationships, you know, it brings so much more than just the haircut, you know?
And I think that's what got me on the path of like, we need to keep pushing Maddox in everything.
Oh,
right?
really?
Oh, yeah. Because like when you're a parent growing up, I mean, at the time, he's probably been coming to you for 3 years now. So he's 4 or 5. Like he's not even in school
more than
yet.
That. Yeah, I think a little bit more than that.
So like he hadn't even really been in his behavioral school at ABS. So once he did that, it was kind of like there was so much new. You got gloves on. You're doing so much with like, how is he going to react? You making him sit in that chair, it was like, what are we doing? Like we gotta go push this kid a little bit. And like now it's just part of what we do every day. And like it truly is crazy seeing how typical he is. Like, you know that too. And I think as a parent, that's one of the things you mentioned this too, of being worried about the interaction. As a parent with a child with special needs, you worry about that. You know, you walk in a certain place, you walk into Kroger and you see people looking at him weird because he's not talking, he's stemming. Right. So being able to just come in, sit down, get a haircut, and it be the truest sense of a haircut. You're not looking at them differently, not treating them differently. You're saying, hey, sit back, put your head back, don't lean down. Like that's what we want. As much as you don't think that's the case, it absolutely is.
That's dope. Going back a little bit, I remember when you first expressed it to me, right? I think you guys just had Maddox, right? And we were talking and you're like, oh, that's dope, you know, congratulations. And then as the years came by, you dropped the news on me. And we talked, we went through those conversations, which again, like I'm just hearing people out, and if I can give something, then I will. If I don't, then I just shut up. You know what I mean? And it has to be, me personally, has to be from the heart. If I'm not going to say from the heart, I'm not. And I remember with like the first time you like, hey, what do you think? I'm like, dude, just bring him in. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, don't worry about it. We got this, you know? And it was just cool too that you were open to it. Because I've seen it before, like, no, I'll just keeping him at, you know, at home, or I'll take him to this other place, you know? It's like, man, in reality, like you're saying, like, it's okay. They need to be around what life is. This is life, you know?
No doubt.
And it's cool seeing him now because he comes in, he knows what it is. He knows what it is.
He knows what it is.
It's funny because you see him like, nah, we ain't doing this. And as soon as he sits in the chair, he's like, all right, cool. Like, we're in here.
He didn't even make a peep last week. Right? And that's even different too, of just, there's little things you become hypersensitive to it as a child with special need, or a parent of a child with special needs. That, like just sitting in the chair, not making a noise. That's an improvement today from 2 weeks ago. Like we're building on it, right? We're getting better time and time again. And I think that's what's cool about maybe not me being in the chair, but having him in the chair too.
Yeah.
It's like opposite of when I come and see you and sit in the chair.
Yeah.
There's something else going on that's personal to me that you're helping along with in Maddox's journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. So like one thing that I've learned, right, through my years of cutting hair with special needs kids, it's like, and we did in the beginning, if you remember, we make sure we did it at the same exact time.
Yep.
And if we're going to do weekly, monthly, whatever it was, make sure we do it the same, because they do remember, they do understand, and they can look forward to it if it's already on schedule, because they do memorize that, right? And sometimes I've noticed like parents like, oh, they just don't do good at the barbershop. That's not the case.
Yeah.
You got to create a system for them.
Yeah.
And then once they get acclimated and stuff gets flowing, they're good. You know, and now you come in before, after, different times, and he's cool with it.
Yeah.
And
so much of that is routine based with autism and special needs. Is like, at first I remember we strategically got there like 15 minutes early. Yeah. So he could go sit in the chair. He could watch somebody else getting cut before it was his turn. And then you'd remind him like, hey, you're about to go in there and get your hair cut.
Yeah.
Right? We're going to keep it calm. We're not going to be shouting.
Yeah.
And then now, you know, I think it's 5 minutes before we pull up to your place and he already knows in the car.
Oh, for real?
Oh, yeah. And I'm like, hey, we're getting our hair cut. You know, he gives a couple shouts. He does his thing. But we walk in and he walks by everybody in the front. He walks right back. I don't even need to lead him there. So like he knows where he's going because he remembers it.
Yeah. Okay. Right? That's awesome. I didn't know he did that. That's awesome. And the other thing as a barber, what I've learned is they just want to start cutting the clients right away. Right. It's like, no, let them get used to what's new to them. Right. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that, the cape to them, it's like, it could be you're suffocating them or you're putting something strangling on them. So like ease into that, right? Ease into the clippers. Like it's a noise, it's a new noise for them. It's new vibration, you know, all that stuff is sensory, right?
Yeah.
So you have to understand how to do that. For me with Maddox, like one thing we did, I don't know if you remember, we put the cape, but it was loose. Yeah. You know, at first. Now we can put it where it just doesn't get hair all over him. At first, remember, he used to bring an extra shirt and everything. Oh, yeah. And then also with the clippers, like, hey, just put him around the shoulders where he can relax and feel like it's not going to hurt him. Yeah. And that's something that I, again, see improvement. I don't have to do that no more. He sits down, we'll put the cape, we'll start cutting his hair, and he's chill for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, one of the biggest pieces of perspective that I got growing into this, being a parent of a child with special needs, was like, whatever we experience sensory wise, multiply that by like 100, and that's what Maddox feels, right? So like that buzzing sound, like that gets him on another level from what we might think. And it's hard to peel back because that's what we've always done, right? You and I have gotten our hair cut the same way. You go sit in the chair and it's what you do. So like those little pieces that you do, I think, and that's something that I noticed early on and I appreciate and I leaned into it. And I think that's why we are where we are. Of, you know, I noticed you were taking the time to make that known, of like to give him that space and that time. And so it's helped him grow tremendously to where now it's a little bit of a extra time and attention initially, but now we're just coming and sitting in the chair, right? Get in the seat, put your cape on. The air compressor was the other thing. That just happened recently, right? Yeah. He was yelling every time you do it. Now you give him a couple quick heads up and he just lets you spray off all the hair.
I think he played with it last time, right? Yeah. He was playing with it last time. So it's like little stuff like that. Yeah. Where like, you just have to be mindful, right? And just be more open to what's in front of you, right? In our industry, you have to understand you're serving people. It's not about me. It's about the client. You know, we have to make them comfortable in whichever form that is. Yeah. And I think barbers sometimes forget that.
Yeah, it's a special way of customer service. You're probably closer to most people in most industries. Yeah. In terms of what you get to hear and see and learn about people. Because you might catch them on a bad day, you might catch them on a great day. Yeah. And they're willing to talk about whatever, personal or professional, right? And we've gotten there. But you've also seen it from the other side where now it's started to add Maddox to the mix too with us. Yeah.
So you and your wife, Jordan, have came up with an idea. So how's that going?
Yeah, we actually, funny you said that, like we just got some things in motion there, but we just started a nonprofit called Maddox's Mission. Gotcha. Really centered around us trying to give back to the autism community. One of the challenges that we see is we've been fortunate enough to have a bunch of resources for Maddox at home, but those resources are expensive, right? So like every teacher in a classroom, special education might not have it. So the weighing of like, how do we impact the most kids in the special education realm and specifically with autism, but do it in a way that we can actually provide for that was this. And so we're actually trying to raise money however we can. We're doing a t-shirt sale right now for Autism Awareness Month next month. And every shirt that you buy is a donation to that. And hopefully we're going to go and buy resources for teachers that fill out our form, create like an Amazon wish list.
Okay.
And so we'll start to buy stuff for those teachers who submit something to give them some of the resources they may not have had, giving most kids in the classroom the chance to receive those, because getting it at home is great, but that's for one kid. So we wanted to try and make that as big as possible. So doing it in a classroom setting is probably best.
So what is it right now? Like where you guys are at with it?
Like we just started, we just got finalized the, the EIN number.
LLC, EIN number,
LLC,
yeah. Okay.
all that. So we just started the t-shirt order because Autism Awareness Month next month. And we always do the Autism Speaks Walk.
Okay.
So we try and raise money there. So we just started that. But this year what we did is we're going to put the shirts together. We got stickers going on too. And then hopefully, as the summer goes on, we got some plans, maybe looking into like a golf outing. I know up by us, we got a couple golf courses that we could do something for. We're going to try and do as much as we can in the immediate. I'd say the other thing too is just getting the word out to not just raise the money, but also the teachers that are in need, right?
Yeah.
Like we have a Google form that they can go fill out and put all the wish list stuff in. So as much as we can get,
not just for the student, but I mean for the kids, but for the teachers as well.
Right. So what we're gonna, when we raise the money, what we're gonna purchase the items from is literally some teacher from some school district and all of their items that they put in there.
Gotcha.
So if we get all the Cincinnati area school district special education teachers on there, that's gonna allow us to get the most things for the most people to be of impact. So I think that's the other piece of this is it doesn't necessarily have to be a donation, but we want to know what does everybody need so that as we start to get that, we can start to chop some of those things off that list and check that off the box.
Yes, sir. That's dope. I like that. One of the things that I feel like we went from obviously like the beginning of our relationship, we got into obviously the Maddox, and then it kind of grew us more closer, right?
Yeah.
And something we just went golfing one day randomly, right? Yeah. And like I really got to know more about you, got to know more about me. And one thing that I've noticed within the times, like you're open to understand other people and see different ways, right? Like one of the things is you asked me first, so where are you from? How you grew up? And it's like, it's cool to hear that because I don't think a lot of people even process that through their head anymore, you know? Like they just want to do their thing and go about their day.
Oh yeah.
And we have always had like cool conversation, more so recently, than, just from anything that we talked about. And it's I think it helps me out too in a barber standpoint because when you're going, you sometimes forget, not forget, but you just, you're just in the same pattern sometimes of like different lifestyles, even though you see them. But just being able to have those times and understand and see like how you grew up and why you think like that. Yeah. And I think it's very important though.
No, I think personally for me, it's probably one of the biggest things that are missing within society today as a whole. It doesn't matter what we're talking about, but like there is not, I personally feel this way, that there is not a willingness to understand where somebody else is coming from, whether they agree or disagree with your views, your thoughts, how you interact. I was primarily raised that way, right? But I think even more so with my child being special needs, like that is a immediate pivot from whatever you think, right? Like your world flips upside down the minute you find out your child doesn't communicate the same way everybody else does, right? So it's kind of like a reset, I would say, of you got to get to know people in a different way, because that's what I do every day with my son. Right? Yeah. Like he shows me something different that I didn't know before. And I think that's what's cool about our conversations is we might be sitting in the same place or living in the same neighborhood or area of town, but we've come from very different ways. Yeah. And we found out how that's come alike, right? Yeah. One might be longer, one might be different, one might be a heck of a lot more fun, and one might not have been. Right. But I think it's cool to get to know somebody and then know the entire story of like, hey, we're sitting here together right now, chopping it up. But it was very different of how we got there. Right. That's what I like.
Yeah, and that's what's about to actually like what made you start being open like that.
I mean, it probably just started from wanting to get to know people, right? Yeah. Like even in sports and, traveling across town growing up to go play different sports. You see kids from different schools and different places, and you're talking to them, finding out how they got there. But, you just keep going and going. And I think one of the things that I've always tried to have a perspective on is I want to learn something about you, because once I learn that about you, like that's a connection we're going to have going forward. Yeah. Whether we talk every day, we talk once a week, or we talk once a year.
Right.
Like we would have a connection then that we can bring up. And so like I try to find that in every one of my friendships, obviously to a deeper level, but even on a professional level, like I want to find a connection with you that we can talk about that may not be work, because not everybody wants to show up and just talk work all day. Right. You get that. You just kind of talked about it, right? Like you don't want to just show up and talk about everything that somebody's doing all the time and they're just complaining about what's going on in life. Like it probably is a breath of fresh air for you as you're cutting somebody's hair to be like, how's your day going?
Yeah, it is. And that's like one of the things I love about cutting hair, because I get to hear so many different stories.
Yeah.
And for me, like people always like, how you stay so busy? It's because I don't tune out people.
Right.
I want to get to know them genuinely and get to know their story and, how they think.
Yeah.
I might not agree with it, or, I might agree or disagree, but just getting to know what life brings in society is like, okay, valid point, not my way.
Right.
But I get it, you know, and it gets me to just stay open to, what's going on around me.
I think it's a good reminder too of like how much do I or don't I know? Like that's something else I'm always trying to do too, is I'm trying to get as much information as possible so I can make the best informed decision on whatever that is, right?
Gotcha.
So like if I'm thinking I'm set on one way, I might ask you the same question just to see if you feel the same way.
Yeah.
And if I do that with 3 different people, now I know that's probably how most people are thinking or how that decision should fall. If I'm hearing both sides of it, I probably need to take a little more time and find out a little more info too.
Gotcha. That's dope. That's a good little gem for people to know,
I'd be curious to hear from your perspective. What is one of the best pieces of advice you've ever got from somebody in a chair that you're cutting?
I've gotten so many. But I would say the control factor of life. Like, you're not in control. Like, control what you can control. I think in this day and age, everybody wants to control everything. And also like the failure part, like, making a mistake. Like, it's so, like, I've done it myself, but just hearing it, like, gives me that reassurance, like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. But more so the control thing, like, people want to be so in control of every little aspect of life. And in reality, you can't.
No.
Like, I can walk outside of here and my day can change, you know, like good or bad, right? So understanding on the business side of things, control what you can control. Hey, this is my vision. This is the direction we're going on the business. If you're with it, great. If you're not, as we grow, don't be upset that you're not growing or that you're not going to be in the pitch in the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. And I think that's a good point too, is there is a control what you can control on a personal and a professional level every day, right? Like you talked about it, just stepping out of here and something changing, like, a hospital ride to the back of an ambulance. That's something we had this past year with Maddox. That flips everything you're doing. Not only that day, but that week and everything that comes in the next few months, with just different types of consults and seeing what we can find out about, seizures and things like that. So I get it firsthand. And I think that's a great piece of advice that even somebody like me who lives in a flexible world, you always got to be pivoting, but it's a good reminder that, hey, I'm not alone. You do it yourself, and you do it from a professional standpoint with your business too. Like, there's only so much we can control. You got to roll with it.
Yeah. And like the event you just talked about, like for me before, like if say something were to happen, either in business or life, I would just automatically, well, I still got to do this. I got to control this factor and to do this so that I can do it. You know what I mean? That's just, I got really bad ADHD. That's why though.
Yeah.
So like, I'm always like thinking, and if something changes drastically, I'll implement it, I'll adjust, but then I'm back in my mind, I'm like, but I still got to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So now it becomes stress and, all these other effects that come into my personality. So what I've learned in about a year and a half now, like, control, you can control. If some big event happened that changed the outcome of what you had planned today, that's fine. It is what it is. Focus on that for the moment and then get back to what you need to.
I like that.
I
like that. I actually just thought of another one I want to ask you. I've never asked you this before, so this would be a good one. you've had so many people sitting in your barber chair that you've been able to talk to and interact with. Do you feel like there are more people that are open to hearing other perspectives? Or do you feel like the vast majority of people sitting in your chair are set in their ways and don't necessarily like to hear the other side of it?
Yes. So it's a weird answer I'm about to give you. So I think it depends on the clientele you build. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So for me, as I grew into being a barber over the years, you kind of shape and mold, because people come in your chair.
Right.
And like I always tell people, I get hired and fired all the time.
No doubt.
And so what I mean by that is like my personality is going to stick with this client or it's not eventually. And so over time, you will start getting people who are similar or like-minded to what you think or do. But I also do get people that, come in and they don't see that or they don't understand life at that level.
Yeah.
I get them, but I just hear them out. Like I said, and I just, okay, cool.
You're just throwing that away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I understand what their level of life, so I'm not going to judge them. I'm just going to hear them out and keep it at that. But for me, most of my clientele now, it's like you tailor it.
Yeah.
The best way to put it.
Well, and I think bringing it back to what you said earlier, I think that's a good piece of why you're so good at what you do is you get to know people on a personal level over time.
Yeah.
So whether or not maybe you think it, people can see, hey, this is maybe where you think, or hey, keep this in mind when you're talking to them, and they might not feel that way. And that over time, it's almost like you get the writing on the wall without somebody telling you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, hey, if you're not open to these kind of things, somebody's going to resist that because maybe they don't think the same way. They're going to some other barber. But you're cool with it, right? Because you got other people that feel and think the same way, or at least are open to hearing other perspectives where they don't take that personal while they're sitting in there for that 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I've had those conversations before. People are not open to it, you know what I mean? And I'm not going to disrespect them, right. I just hear them out, and you're more than welcome to come back to my chair.
No doubt.
It's just understand I don't pick size. I don't look at the world a certain way. I'm open to everything. And I do that because I want to learn. I feel like that's the biggest thing in life. If you don't keep learning, you die. You know what I mean? Internally, right?
Yeah.
It's just like that's what they do that with barbering too. Like, if you don't keep learning in this industry, you'll die. Your clientele will decrease.
Yep.
And I've kind of taken that and just implemented that into my world habits,
Nah, I like that.
And coming from where I come from.
Yeah.
We don't, from where I grew up and how we grew up, I got cousins and family members from different colors. So I see different when it comes to that. From different opinionated lifestyles. Sure. I just seen it all different. So for me, I'm not well, I got to go this direction or go that direction. And with my parents too, they just never really implemented that. Hey, you can only be around this type of people, It's hey, there's good people, there's bad people, You pick.
Yeah, you're going to find out at some point.
Yeah. So that's how kind of I grew up, and I kind of kept those things into my barbering career.
Yeah, I like that. We talk about this often with Maddox too, you live in this world now, and I think it goes along with what you said of just taking those perspectives and just trying to be better every day. I heard this quote one time, if you get 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you're 365% better. Yeah. Right? And that day-to-day mindset of just, hey, what can I do to be a little bit better than I was yesterday? Correct. It doesn't have to be a total 180, but can I just be a little bit better? And you stack on those days, and before you look up out of your bubble, you might be looking at a whole new person, or a whole new interaction.
Yeah, and similar, I have that mindset with myself with a lot of things. Yeah. I just take one day and try to do something different or improve or listen. Right now, I'm recording. They're why are you recording at the shop? I'm because I want to see what I'm doing. Yeah. Because I've been doing it for 15 years. You kind of get in this, what's the word I'm looking for? Fog, you know what I mean? It's just everything is all hazy. And I'm am I getting better or not, And I just want to see where I'm at. I'm studying myself. And that's something I'm a big Kobe guy. Yeah. And one thing I've noticed with him, when he played a full game, right? Which was every day basically with him. But he would as soon as he was on the plane, he was already looking at the game he just played.
Yep.
And what he could improve and what are the mistakes and what he can improve, like everything. So I kind of incorporate that into what I do. Like, what can I do every day and how can I study myself to be a better person overall? Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm a student of myself.
No, I love that. And you know this because we talked about it plenty of times, but like I'm a big book reader too.
Yeah.
And I read Mamba Mentality, and they talk about a story in there where Kobe would play like mind games almost with somebody, right? He'd be like, hey, Kevin, show up to the gym at 3 a.m. I'm going in for my workout.
Yep.
Kevin would show up at the gym and Kobe be in a full sweat because he showed up at 2 a.m.
I do the same thing.
Just to give you that reminder of like, hey, I'm working when you're sleeping. Yep. You thought you were on time, but you're really late.
So that's part of my mindset of what I do with like, I wake up at 5 every day.
Yeah.
Why? Because nobody's willing to wake up at 5 every day. It takes discipline.
Right.
And then like, I go to the shop at 7. Well, there's a few reasons why, right? One, because I've noticed there's a clientele, there's a niche for that, for those hours. From 7 to 10, you will get third shift people, you will get high-end clientele, and you will get business and leaders at companies.
Yeah. Because
they got to come in before they work.
And they're working all day.
Because they're working all day, and they have to all look presentable. So when I found that, I'm like, why nobody sacrificing those 3 hours to come in? And I'm just being honest, like even the pay is better in a way, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like the conversations are even different. And I pride myself in that, you know? When barbers like, hey, what time should we open up at 9? They're like, but you're here at 7. I'm like, yeah, you can be here at 7 too if you want.
Right. Go ahead. You can change your hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be there at 6:30 though, you know?
Yeah.
Like, why are you here at 6:30? Because if you come at 6:30, I'm gonna come a little bit early.
I never thought of that like that. Yeah. That's good. Of like there's a certain person or interaction you might have at a certain time frame being a barber, right? Because you even think about it, like from my standpoint, when I'm booking appointments with you, I'm doing it in gaps in my schedule when I'm not traveling during the week. Right. Where you might even have a big lump of people that's evenings and weekends.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're not in that window, they're not coming to get cut, right? So if you're booked on those times or you're not offering it, you're not getting that. But there's also that other side of like, you might find people that are just traveling all the time trying to find a gap before they go and do their next thing.
But it balances it out when it comes to my schedule, right? Because I'm cutting back to back about 18, 20 people a day. And what it does is like, I get to look forward to certain conversations in the morning and then like certain in the evenings, right? Yeah. But then like in between that, it always kind of just jumps around. But when I, for example, I see you in the books halfway through like my day, I'm like, ooh, I know. I'm looking forward.
You know what conversations coming that you probably haven't had
yet. Yeah. So like, and then going back to the Kobe thing, I don't know if you've seen, he read the referee book and stuff like that, and he predicted Westbrook's career.
He did,
and it's lining up. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh yeah, no, he read that through and through. He knows.
Yeah, and like for me, like I implemented that to what I do in my career. A lot of things, you know. It's just cool that, you know, you're able to, for me, like implement certain things when it comes to sports and to business. I always tell people like sports is business and business is sports. Because it comes from the same root in a way, you know?
No question.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I appreciate it, man.
No, man, I don't tell you this enough, but I really do appreciate everything you do, not only for me, but for Maddox. You really put some stuff in motion that gives me perspective. I just wish there were more people like you out there.
Appreciate it, man. I always tell people, man, I just wake up, tie my shoes, and just try to do at least 1% better for at least one person a day.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I look at it. I always look at it to serve others, man. That's
no
it.
Doubt.
And I'm glad that we've been able to grow with Maddox, right? Together, right? Because it is a bond. Sure. We even joke around like, oh, what he's watching today?
Yeah.
Because
it's something new, right? It's a new fad. He's always watching something new.
Yeah. So like, thank you for allowing me to be a part of his life. So, because I know it takes a lot, you know, in your guys' situation.
I think that's what's cool though, is like, I don't know that I ever came to you thinking that you were going to be a part of it. Right. Yeah. No, not anything offensive to you, but like as a parent, you come to thinking you're going to just get your hair cut for your kid. And I think through the interactions and through you being open to pushing him and hearing our story, it made me feel comfortable enough to make that a big piece. And I'm thankful because again, you set in motion some things for me that pushed not only me, but Jordan, and making sure like, hey, we have to treat him as typical as possible to see where he's going to fall with whatever that is. Yeah. And so sitting in the barber chair, it's just like any other day, right?
Awesome. Yeah. And I appreciate you letting me, allowing to push those
No
buttons
doubt.
for him.
No doubt, man.
So I'm glad that, you know, we keep growing with him, you know.
For sure.
So thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir.